Hey guys, welcome back to another video in the r/entitledparents subreddit. Today, I wanted to do a special Christmas themed episode for you guys because Christmas always brings out the best in people, doesn't it? Greed and ungratefulness. So sit back, relax, cozy up, and enjoy these two Christmas entitled parent stories. Christian Holier Than Thou EM is back. This time I'm not so nice. To give some background, every Christmas me and my wife do our own version of Secret Santa where we find some family in our church or surrounding community that is very financially strained and might not be able to afford Christmas gifts that year, and buy gifts for everyone in that family. This has been the 4th year we've done this, and quite frankly, it's a very rewarding experience to deliver holiday joy to a family in need. We mainly find our families secretly by asking church friends if they might know of a family that is going through a very tough time financially. Most of the time, the family either knows a Secret Santa is helping that year, or is completely blindsided Christmas morning with special delivery. Although, due to COVID, we plan to load the presents on their doorstep and ring the doorbell as we get the family's reaction from the sidewalk. Now, on to the story. We got our information for 2 separate families that needed help this year, and me and my wife were planning out which gifts to buy for both families, gift budget, etc. During our brainstorming session, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. When I picked up, it was a kid's voice informing me that my mother would like to talk to you. I could hear the kid hand the phone to someone else, and then I was greeted by a familiar voice, the EM of the story, aka friend's aunt. Hello, OP. EM? To what do I owe the pleasure? Well, I'm glad you asked. My nephew mentioned during a family Zoom call earlier that you were buying Christmas gifts for random strangers this year, and how commendable your charity giving was. Well, he is correct. I'm doing a Secret Santa this year. Perfect. That's why I wanted to call you. You know of a family in need? Yeah, me. One thing I should point out about EM that I learned from my friend is that she used to be married to a rich guy whose family owned some oil fields. From what I understand, when they divorced, she didn't get ownership of the family's assets. Despite this, she still stuck the guy with alimony and gained 70% custody of their child. Back to the story. You need help? Yes, you see, I really wanted to get my son a PS5 for Christmas, and since my gift budget is already strained this year, I figured you could step up and help me bring him some holiday joy. What do you mean that your gift budget is already strained? Well, my car broke down and I decided to buy a new one. Well, that's unfortunate. Hopefully your new car was reliable. Sure is. I decided to treat myself to an early Christmas gift and bought one of those brand new Cadillac Escalades. I just so happened to have my Chromebook in front of me during the call, so I used it to look up the MSRP for a new Escalade, which had a starting price above $75,000. At that point, a very cold anger has started to arise in my akin to my previous encounter with the EM. Here she is again trying to take advantage of me just to get a PS5 for her kid while she blows money on a Cadillac. She could have bought a much cheaper car and could have still had money left over to buy gifts for multiple families. My wife could see that I was not in a good mood and looked concerned as I walked into my office. I may have been nice to the EM before, but this time I was going to give her a piece of my mind. So, back to the PS5, if you could get one with a few games? No. Excuse me? I will not be buying your son a PS5 for Christmas. But he really wants one. Are you going to deny a kid his wish? Let me tell you something about my charitable giving. It goes to families that barely have enough to get by at the end of the day and are staring down the barrel of choosing between rent or Christmas gifts. Not entitled people like you who have poor spending habits. Why, I never. How dare you? Look who's talking. You obviously have more than enough to purchase an SUV that costs more than a blue-collar income, yet here you are trying to bum a free PS5 off of me, all because your budget is strained. If your budget is so strained, then why don't you sell that overpriced car and buy one yourself? You should watch your tongue. You know the Bible says that the younger generation should be subject to your elders. This pushed me over the edge. At this point, I was fuming and had decided that it was time to burn a bridge with EM. You know what? Maybe if you spent more time actually reading your Bible instead of thumping it all the damn time, you'd actually be more thoughtful of people other than your effing self. Hell, maybe you'd be the one doing the Secret Santa. Don't you ever call my phone again. Clearly, you're someone who is not worth wasting my time on. I'd wish you a Merry Christmas, but maybe even that's too good for you. I blocked the number and proceeded to text my friend to make sure his aunt never contacts me again. Oddly enough, I didn't need to take time to calm down. Telling EM off was actually quite cathartic. Jeez, that is brutal. Good for OP though for standing up to someone like that. I'm sure there's a few Bible verses he could have thrown back in her face about honesty and materialism. It's so hard to trust people nowadays. EM is like those people that make 6 figures from panhandling, as well as the CEOs of charity organizations being millionaires. It's so unfortunate when you try to help someone in need and they use your kindness for greed. How can people live with themselves when they do this sort of thing? I know that there are a lot of good, honest people out there, but it's so hard sometimes to look past people like these ones. Give my kid your PS5 or you've ruined his Christmas. So the other day I got lucky and managed to get a hold of a PS5, which are like gold dust in the UK at the moment. Work has been ridiculous this year and my PS4 broke a few months back. To say I'm hyped for it and some holiday downtime is an understatement. The console finally arrived the other day and was left with my neighbor. I knocked on the door, thanked them for taking the parcel and exchanged some pleasantries when she casually asked if it was anything nice. I told her it was a PS5, we had the usual small talk, and I went back inside, thinking nothing of it. Later we had a knock on the door from her husband. He said that his wife had mentioned I'd got a PS5, and they wanted one for their 7-year-old. It was all his son wanted this year, and it's been a tough year for his son as he's not been able to see his friends much. So would I consider selling it to them for what I bought it for? I said I understood, but I really didn't want to sell it as I was looking forward to playing it. That's when things got a bit weird. He huffed a little and said Christmas should be about kids, and I should really consider how hard it's been for them and offered me an extra $50. I said I wouldn't be selling it for any price. I wasn't looking to make money on it, I just really wanted to play it. He left but said he hoped I'd reconsider as you and I are a bit old for video games anyway, and walked off. End of story, I thought. The next day he comes over again, this time with his son. He said his son really wanted to see the PS5 he had heard about. The boy then said to me that's what he really wanted for Christmas and hoped Santa would get him one. I replied that hopefully he would, but it's really busy for him this year, so he might have to wait a little longer for it. But if not, I'm sure he'd get something nice instead. Another day passes and my fiance said they had posted something weird on social media about how they had thought 2020 would have made people less selfish and more giving, but they were disappointed in their neighborhood which had forgotten community spirit, and how people should be more thoughtful towards the children on the street given how much they've suffered this year. Off the back of it, my fiance asked if I should just sell them the console just to keep the peace. Later in the day, they came around again to tell me that I had promised their son he'd be getting a PS5 for Christmas, and now it would be ruined if he didn't get one. She said that I am an adult and should be thinking of kids at Christmas, not acting like one playing video games, and that I was being unbelievably selfish and cruel. He added that he didn't know how we could enjoy Christmas knowing we were horrible people that had ruined a 7-year-old's Christmas. Now I've also heard from people on the street that they've been talking crap about us to people, though most neighbors are just staying out of it, but we're definitely getting some daggers from the Mums Who Lunch crew. We live in a super nice neighborhood, but it's firmly middle class. Lots of private school kids called Hattie and Sebastian, etc. We're definitely the youngest on the street, and the weird childless couple, which I don't think the PS5 gate is helping with. My fiance just wants to sell it to them to end it, but I'm still trying to hold firm. Honestly, I feel like I'm losing my mind at this point. This whole PS5 thing is absolutely insane and ridiculous. I've seen people online selling them for double the price because they know these parents will pay that for their spoiled kids. How about teach your children good values, such as maybe they won't get whatever they want at the drop of a hat? It's honestly not the children's fault though. They're used to it because these parents give them whatever they want and expect everyone else to give it to them too. It's a vicious cycle, really. Like, there's people that don't even have access to fresh water, yet everyone's fighting over a goddamn console. Anyways, that's my rant for the day, and I will leave it at that. Hopefully OP does not listen to his fiance and just sells it to the neighbor, because that would be enabling him. But I hope you enjoyed those 2 entitled parent Christmas themed stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do. And me and Luna wish you guys a Merry Christmas, and I will see you in a few days. Bye!